Jai Gajanan, Ganeshaya Namastubhyam, Herambaya Ekadantine, Swanandavasine Tubhyam, Brahmanaspataye Namaha. With humble pranams to all Paramacharyas, Acharyas and Gurus. Let us continue our study into Jnanasara from where we left off in our previous session. We were looking at the conversation between Sanaka and Shiva. Sanaka on representing the entire group which are seated before Shiva. Sanaka is now asking Shankara, how is puja and archana of God done? Please tell us about it. So Shiva says, it involves chanting of the divine mantras. That itself inspires the heart. Then Archana is done, which results from such inspired expansion of the heart, makes you perform the Archana. And it has the consent of the Vedas, that is, it has an agreement, it is stated in the Vedas. Archana of Shiva, for Shakti, Isha, that is Shiva, Ravi, or Vishnu, while chanting their names, either 21 names or 108 names, are of three types. One has to remember that Prasad gets purified after Pancharchana puja. Veda Shastras have mentioned the Panchayatan Devas. Panchayatan Deva includes, that is, Shakti or Ambika, Bhaskara, Surya, Vishnu, Shiva, and Guneshwara. Guneshwara is also, we also take it as Ganesha. Panchayatan Devas are believed to be in their Turiya avastha, Turiya state, that is, in their unmanifest state. Doing Panchayatana puja bestows Brahma Loka to the worshipper. That is, the worshipper believes that he will be able to go to Satya Loka, that is the Loka of Brahma, after death. One opinion is that Krama Marga bestows liberation through jnana. Through knowledge, jnana marga, it bestows liberation. An ordinary puja of all the four could be performed is a second opinion. One can install one's favorite deity along with Ganapa and perform the normal puja of both, one after the other. That is, instead of having all the five devas, you can have Ganapa, that is Ganesha, and that other favorite deity, and do it after one after the other. That is, after finishing Ganesh puja, do the puja of the other deity. This is a kind of a dry puja. It has no rasa in that. One should first perform Ganesh puja, followed by puja of one's favorite deity. Thereafter, perform the puja of the other deities one after the other. Ganesh puja is generally, this Ganesh puja is like for removing obstacles. So for any puja, we perform the Ganesh puja first. Then you perform your favorite deity that is kept in the center of that area, and the puja is performed, and then you perform the puja of the others. That is Ambika, Shakti, Ambika, Surya, and Vishnu. Vishnu or Shiva, whoever is the favorite deity, depending on that. Those well versed in the Vedas say that temples are divine and one should perform the puja of one's favorite deity with requisite sanctity. It is mentioned in Karma Anga that puja of Brahmanaspati should be done as instructed, with sanctity through Pandits who are well versed in Veda Agamas. Gananatha's puja should be performed as ordained, as given with devotion. As per Gargya Kalpa Marga, using a rock as yantra for reflection. A temple sets action in motion, such as doing puja systematically. When there is a temple, we follow a certain order or pattern of doing the puja, following the instructions as prescribed either in the Vedas or Tantra Shastras. When Mahadeva pronounced his oath to his beloved Ambika, Ganapa and Surya gave themselves up from the Pancha totally. Means they gave up being a part of the Panchayatana puja. So that means there were only three deities. So Hari came to be accepted or as a lord among the Trimurti. Parvati became subject to a curse, moved to the Mishra Marga. So when Parvati came under a curse, she shifted to Mishra Marga of worship or puja. Those who do Ekalinga Archana should not worship Vignapa without Pashupati Diksha and can only listen to the Veda Shastras. Linga Archana should not worship Vignapa without Pashupati Diksha. That's a special Vishesha Diksha, and it can only listen to the Veda Shastras. After completing Ekalinga Archana, the worshipper should announce loudly, and the bearer of the linga should apply mark of ashes on his forehead. In Vishnu's oath, that is Sankalpa rituals, those on the Tantra Marga who observe rituals of Pancharatra got symbols of conch and chakra on their body. Means they had the emblem of the conch and the chakra on either arms on their body. In the oath of Brahma, Bhrigu Muni and 9 other yogis wore impressions of the feet of Shakti and other symbols and observed rituals of offering flesh of one among the herd as oblation. In oaths of Shiva, at first people like Chandala were looked down upon. Purusha was considered head of the family and only he could perform the puja. Vedas were under distress in Padma Mandala, that is in the Brahma Loka, because of a curse on them for having performed Shuddha Puja of Chaturna without Ganesha Archana in the beginning. That is in Brahma Loka, once it happened that they had performed Shuddha Puja of Chaturna, of the four-headed one, without performing the Ganesha Archana. And so they came under curse. So Shambhu's son Ganesha, whose head had been slayed and who was later adopted by Shiva, intervened saying that Vedas alone were subject to the curse. So a dispute arose when Ganesh Puja was not performed in Satyaloka. So a dispute arose. It means they were subject. They could be subject to curse. So at that time, Shambhu's dispute arose as to which is superior, worship of Ganesha is superior or performing the Vedas. Performing the Vedas. So then Shiva had intervened at that time, and he says that that Vedas alone were subject to the curse. That is, the others were not subject. Chaturna, puja of Chaturna was performed without performance, so only Vedas were subject to the curse. The real meaning of Shiva's adoption of Ganesha was clearly understood only later on. If men on earth worship Ganapa, they will be free of vignas or admonition for all karmas that have incurred the curse of any of the 5 devas. So once we perform the puja of Ganesha, before performing the puja of any other devas, then the curse of those devas, like how here previously we saw that in Satyaloka, when they performed the puja of Chaturna, Shuddha puja of Chaturna without Ganesha Archana, so they were subject to curse. So here the curse of those deities will not become applicable if we perform the Ganesh Puja. So that is another reason why we perform the puja of Ganesha before doing any other puja, because we don't want to get affected by the curse of the gods also. of the other gods. That also is removed. Giving up Vainayika Shastras, which were in the form of Shrutis, Shaivas moved towards an associated path of Shaiva Agama, wherein Haridra Ganapati, that is turmeric, Ganapati made of turmeric, was worshipped. Doing puja of Vallabhesha blesses one. Vallabhesh is the puja of Ganesh. Saraswati performs the puja of Vallabhesh. Doing puja of Vallabhesh blesses one with stability, even though impure. It was novel. It rejuvenates. Blesses one with children. He is worshipful and is human in form. He is also well known in Tantra worship, holding the noose and mace as weapons in his hand, in two of his arms. He is the Pancham among the Panchayatan Devas. So, for puja of idols in the temples or in homes of householders, Ganaka's oath is sufficient for followers of the path resembling to the Vedic path. Then Sanaka has a doubt. He says, how do we read the Kavacha and other stotras daily? What is its meaning? Please tell me, Parmeshwara. Shiva said, the letter J stands for what comes along with the birth, what we are born with. And Per stands for destruction of sins. Ma stands for mind. This is the meaning of the letters of the word Japam. Japama means Ja that we are born with. Pa stands for destruction of sins and Ma stands for the mind. So Japam is essential. When we do Japam, it means it leads us to liberation. Because protection of the mind is necessary to destroy life's sins, because mind has a tendency to flow out and we fall into traps leading us to sins. So we should remember to do the mantra japa as it pleases the deity very quickly. It's very easy. Chanting of mantras pleases gods of the mantra, who then blesses us with happiness and prosperity. Just as we need water to quench our thirst, so also, and we also need food to quieten our hunger. So also, those who are yearning for liberation, moksha, they should do japa. Japa of the Moola mantra. It is like eating only fruits and not indulging in other eatables. A sadhak can recite the Kavacha mantra. Kavacha is for protection, and other stotras are there. He should remember to chant the Ekakshara mantra, which is a Moola mantra of Ganesha. Then the six-lettered mantra of Ganesha should be chanted in the afternoon mentally 1,000 times. The power of a number for the six-letter mantra is that it is excellent for the six types of actions generally performed by a Brahmin householder. For a householder, all the karmas that are performed is covered by the protection offered by chanting these names 1008 times, 6 letters, Shadakshara mantra. Doing japa daily, contemplating on the Vedic Mahavakyas with bhava, with feeling, is equivalent to do a Prajapati Yajna 100 times. Chanting it with devotion for protection of plants and during ceremony for purification of cows will bring 300 times more results. So prostration to the lotus feet of Veda again and again. Chanting the Panchashad, that is 15-lettered mantra, creates 6 times more waves. Repeating the Sahasranama Stotra brings 100 times more success. So these are the falashrutis of chanting or japa of the mantras. Doing japa with devotion will bring 6 times more fruits. This has been separately mentioned in all the Upanishads, Gita, and even Darshanas. When we do penance to Shiva systematically, With devotion, it brings 6 times more fruits. Because Shiva is a very benevolent deity, he immediately is pleased easily. He can be pleased very easily. Reading chapters that sing Paramatma's glory brings 6 times more benefits. It is equivalent to fasting for 12 days, according to Pandits. Penance, well known from the Puranas, are four. From the Brahma Purana, there are 4 types of penances which are taken from the 4 from the Brahma Purana, 5 from Marich Purana, and 6 in from the Jnana Purana. There are 7 in Ganesh Purana, 8 penances of the Mudgal Purana, and 10 penances in the Vinayaka Rahasyam. Benefits of chanting during auspicious times are manifold. There are certain times during the day which are specifically auspicious, and even other special days are also there. Doing Ganesh Mantra Japa with Sandhya brings tenfold more, 10x times benefits, including the chanting of Gananatha Gayatri of Mahaganapati daily. Chanting the mantra beginning with Gananam Tva, Gananam Tva, Ganapati Gamavamai, that mantra 1,000 times has the benefit of doing 100 ordinary japa, ordinary pujas. If you do 100 ordinary, if you do a japa of Gananam Tva 1,000 times, it is equivalent to doing 100 times pujas. Making offering during Manasa Puja 6 times a day results in getting rid of distractions and brings 1,000 times more benefits. While doing Manasa Archana recitations either in the house of the householders or temples or serving the Ganesh Grantha, that's also done. If we repeat Brahmanaspati Sukta 25 times systematically, it is equal to prostrating 100 times. Doing puja on Chaturthi day has the benefit of 1,000 penance. Doing puja in Shravan month has the benefit of doing 1,00,000 penances. That is why in Shravan Maina, many people perform the Satyanarayan puja. Even in offices they have it. So Shravan month, doing a puja is very auspicious because it brings a benefit of equivalent to 1,00,000 penances. Worshipping Ganesha with Siddhi Buddhi has the benefit of blessing us with knowledge and intelligence. Shiva, Shakti, Vishnu are all an ansh of Ganapa. Now we all know that we perform the Ganesh Puja before doing any work, before beginning any auspicious activity or any new project. So Sanaka asked, we should perform puja of Ganadipa before beginning any work, or else there will be no success in endeavors, according to the Vedas. And it has been said since ancient times. Oh Parameshwara, please tell us how this ritual, this practice came about. How did it begin? Shiva said, the eternal supreme Brahma, who is self knowing, um, became two. He split himself into two, one as Maya and one as Mayi. The Smriti say Mayi was a Nirguna Brahma and Maya was with gunas. So the unmanifest portion is Mayi and the Maya was with gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Their union was proclaimed by the Vedanta since beginningless time. So ever since we had any kind of knowledge, this was known. So the Smritis mention Saguna Brahma to have the form of Bindu, which was a primordial cause of the fourfold universe. So it was from that Bindu that the Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti and Surya manifested actually along with their respective gunas. That becomes the basic support for yogis for all activities when they are worshipping Ganapata Brahma. According to the auspicious and inauspicious tendencies, the macrocosmic and the microcosmic form of the world manifested. Karma being subject to time came to be regulated by Kala. Kala regulates karma. That's the wheel of time. Kala is the wheel of time. This fourfold worlds is the living Ishvara in Kala. That is, these four Ishvaras are the living embodiments of Kala, time. And the unmanifest Mahakal is beyond it. That is the ultimate annihilation, the totality is Mahakal. There are two opinions about Kala, which is the union of truth and illusion, and an illusion of the truth. Obstacles being basically untrue, that is, any vigna is untrue, it's not true. It is in the nature, it is called avigna in times of truth. When there is in truth, basically there will be nothing untrue. So that was known as avigna, absence of obstacles. Ishvara, who is the cause of this fourfold universe, is beyond time and is himself the cause of both Kala and Karma. That is both the cause of action and the creator of karmas and the cause of karmas as well. Buddhi is the cause and part of karma, while Siddhi is the bestower of the fruits of karma, the two Shaktis of Ganesha. Buddhi is intelligence and knowing, while Siddhi is a result of that knowledge. Ganesha, who is Siddhi and Buddhi's husband, is Pancham, the creator of Vigna. Remember, Ganesha is not only a remover of obstacles, he was initially a creator of obstacles as well. Avigna, he is a creator of Vigna, Avigna, absence of obstacles, karma, and knowledge in this world. The divine assumed the form of karma to expand into this world according to Shrutis. Ganesha, who is Siddhi and Buddhi's husband, is Pancham, and he is the creator of both Vigna, Avigna, Karma, and knowledge. The divine, when he assumed the form of karma to expand into this world according to Shrutis, then karma was connected to the power of Brahma that it can best so that it can bestow fruits of those actions. Karma, when it is performed, actions when it is performed, it produces certain results. And the one who is authorized to bestow those fruits or those belongs to Brahma. So he's a bestower of the fruits of actions. Even though matter is enlivened with the power, it is devoid of the power of desire. Matter, any object, it has no desire of its own. It is the human being, the jiva, which gets a desire to enjoy those objects. So the Lord existed everywhere in each of the jivas as the jivatma in order to enjoy all these objects in the world. Earlier, by virtue of knowledge about karma and that he is to be worshipped first, doing his worship first was essential in order to see that everything else that follows is in order. It was with his permission that wielders of authority held their positions of power. That was the level of importance given to Ganesha. Besides, man was rewarded in proportion to and according to that karma. If he did not perform the puja of Ganesha first, then he did not get the fruits of performing any other action following that. So the Vedas consider him to be the eldest and the Brahmanaspati, the Lord of all Brahmas. He being the eldest, his puja is to be performed first. He occupies the position of the eldest as a Bindu. There is no going or coming for Brahmanaspati. He is beginningless and without an end. Now he divides himself into these four Ishwaras, he manifests as four Ishwaras, namely Brahma, Vishnu, Shakti, and Surya. So the creator, the first is Asat. The first manifestation is from Asat, or which is not true, that is, which is illusory or which keeps changing. Anything which is not stable is Asat. So that was Shakti. Shakti was the first manifestation as Asat, and it all manifested in the permutations and combinations of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. It has all animate and inanimate things. From the time of this manifestation as various forms, difficulties started happening. So distress naturally when we are distressed because of these difficulties, it restricts our powers. Since karma has a tendency to, when we do one action, it creates more action. The ripple effect is there. So since karma has a tendency to create more karma based on the fruits of those karma, even a person devoid of strength does karma which brings its own result. Even for karmas done with desire, intentionally for fruits of action, it is Prabhu who has, it is the Lord who has the power to bestow those fruits or not. And it will be possible only if we worship Ganesha first. Not doing his Archana makes Buddhi, who is an embodiment of that karma, ineffective. That is, we lose our knowledge of doing necessary for doing those actions. So she withdraws herself from granting karma siddhi, the fruits or success of those karmas or action, due to debilitation of her husband. That is, reducing the importance of her husband, buddhi becomes ineffective. Over time, this accumulates and makes its appearance as difficulties. Initially, we may not notice, it may appear as delayed results or a second time. So, but when this gets accumulated, it comes as real obstacles or objections. The Karma Devata makes him relieved of power to control his actions. Having lost of all the power, Karma Devata is unable to bestow fruits of actions. That is why human beings suffer from lack of success, from failure. Therefore, Ganesha is the one whom one goes to for anything and everything. He is the one to be worshipped first according to scholars well versed on the Vedic path. So, in order to have success at every step, time and again, Vedas say do the Ganesh puja at the beginning. The puja includes like avahanam, that is invocation, then asking for permission, meditation, and ekupachara puja. One should also chant the appropriate names of Ganesha. The Lord Ganesha resides in the Muladhara chakra in the sacrum bone, just below the tailbone, while Mahabuddhi, his wife, is present in the intellect on the forehead as Dehi. While meditating on Ganesha at Muladhara after doing Kuttanam on the forehead, the Kundalini energy moves from Muladhara towards Vignapa through the Sushumna Nadi. After doing Kuttanam and meditation on Ganesha, when his puja is performed, Ganesha becomes endowed with power to calm down obstacles. So even when we do when we get up in the morning, when we do this just Kuttanam and do meditation by chanting the names of Ganesha, the Lord Ganesha, who is a deity of our Muladhara chakra, which is in the sacrum bone below the tailbone, activates our own Kundalini energy and allows it to pass through the central channel and reach Ganesha. That means you activate the Ganesha principle within you, which itself will prevent all obstacles. Even while chanting other mantras, a Ganapa chants the Maha Mantra for several weeks with singular devotion. So Gananayaka as Omkar is the Pancham god. Adding of Omkar to Vedic mantras, we begin the Vedic mantras with Om, because Om is like an engine to that mantra. It provides that power, that energy. Chanting the Gananayaka mantra with Omkar makes it auspicious. It is quite common to do japa along with Ekupachara puja. Next, Sanaka asks about Durva in the worship of Ganesh Puja. What is the importance? Ganesh Puja is said to be ineffective without offering Durva according to Mudgala and Kaundinya Rishi. Oh Prabhu, please tell us how Durva became Ganesha's favorite. So Shiva says, food is necessary for everyone's good health. There is no doubt that all living things in creation are born from food. We exist, our body is the food that we eat. So the food not only nourishes the body but also gives satisfaction. Now, Siddhi Buddhi as Maya are a part of Ganesha's body. So Siddhi is seated to the left of Ganesha in the is the Deha, while Buddhi is seated to the right is the Dehi or the head. The role of food is in supraconscious meditative union. The food that we often say that we are what we eat. So it's not only the physical body that what we are, but also the kind of food that we eat influence the texture of our mind and its capacity. So when we want to enter into supraconscious meditation, we saw in the previous session, that there are two types of samadhi and there are various stages of attaining those samadhis, but the samprajna samadhi and asamprajna samadhi. Samprajna samadhi means superconscious meditative union, and asamprajna samadhi means supraconscious meditative union. So when we progress in our meditation, when we reach the level of asamprajnat samadhi, it is this kind of food plays very important role in enabling that practice of that as supraconscious meditative union. Because at that time, what we need is to restrain the mind, which is Buddhi's role. So we need to practice that restraint of the mind. The kind of food we eat becomes very important. It also regulates the role of Siddhi, who has Maya is impure by nature. That is, Maya is very infatuating, that is enchanting. We often get carried away by Maya. So the kind of food that we eat enables us to regulate our being pulled by Maya. Food and influence of Siddhi and Buddhi are for enjoyment of Ganesha. In ancient times, during the churning of the ocean for extracting nectar by Vishnu, Brahma and Indra, when all of those gods were there, when they were churning the Meru mountain for extracting nectar, initially they faced difficulties. Distressed by those obstacles, they didn't know what to do, because they didn't know initially the even before the poison was coming out, they were finding difficulties. So at that time they prayed to Brahma. So at that time Siddhi Buddhi manifested, and they said, Siddhi Buddhi who were there, they said, they held out some seeds and said, this is sow these seeds, these are Durva seeds of Durva, and they gave it to Brahma. So these seeds, when germinated, will give birth to Durva. That is Durva, a type of grass, which is whose shoots are used in the worship of Ganesha, because this Ganesha likes Durva very much. Since they were created out of an Ansha of Ganesha, use them to do puja to Ganapa. Siddhi Buddhi handed this over to Brahma to remove those initial obstacles. So, equipped with these seeds, Vishnu, Vidhi, that is Brahma, and and the gods were able to please Ganesha, and with his grace brought back the nectar to the realm of gods. So then after offering this Durva, they were able to extract nectar from that churning of that mountain, and this nectar, it brought joy to all of them, all the gods. Gananatha bestows different kinds of boons on Durva. Brahma and other devas offered the Durva to Ganesha, since Durva was born as an anch of Ganesha itself. Because Siddhi Buddhi are an anch of Ganesha. Then Sanaka asked the next question. Shrutis say that Brahma Loka is the awakened state. It is Brahma, the Rajasic quality, is in the awakened state. Keshava's Loka is in the dream state, Vaikuntha is in the dream state, and Rudra Loka, that is Kailash, is in the deep sleep state. The cosmic ego or the Mahatahankara of the awakened state is unmanifest in the dream state. Deep sleep state is a state of pure intelligence. Maya, predominated by Sattva is established in the conscious soul of Gunesh Loka, say those who are well known in the Vedas. The position of Bindu Maya is the Pancham Brahma, whose abode is Swananda Loka. O Parameshwara, tell us about their joyful interactions of all these lokas and the different states prevalent in each of those lokas and the Ishwaras of these lokas. This is a complicated question, even to understand the question itself. See, Sanaka is saying these are the different states, and Brahma works in the awakened state, Vishnu works in the dream state, Shiva works in the deep sleep state. So the abodes in which they live are in those states. Then, how does the conscious soul worship? Know that Ganesha, who is established in all these lokas. So Shiva replies, remember that anyone who goes to the Brahma Loka, Vishnu Loka, that is Vaikunt, or Kailash, or Indra Loka, has to necessarily return from there. They cannot permanently reside there. Shene Punne Martya Loke. Once your punya, that is your merits, are exhausted after doing all karmas, you will be sent back to earth. No doubt, one is also exposed to Muni's curses and oppression of Danavas. So accumulated karmas can also cause distress. The position of Panchayatan Devas in the Brahma Loka is well known. So one does not remember hearing of anyone's return. But in Ganesha's Loka or in Swananda Loka, nobody comes back. In all other lokas, Shene Punya Martya Loke, but in Swananda Loka, one will not, once you reach or able to attain Swananda Loka, until the end of the Mahakalpa, you will not be reborn. You will be in the nature of, in your own self, Swaswarup, in Swananda Loka. A Ganapa is absorbed in the bliss of being in his own self. He becomes liberated from self-delusion and forever relishes in the state of bliss in the Swananda Loka. He is established in the resolution of truth and ultimate bliss. And Ganapa's chief is Pramoda, who is appointed by the Lord. In Swananda Loka, Mudgala was the first Muni whose heart shined in the glory of yoga that enabled him to experience the Swananda, self-knowing Brahma. This supreme bliss of Mudgala is also shared by Brushundi, who closely resembled to the Shambhu's son in appearance. That is, Bhushundi was a human being who, because of his devotion and prayer and puja and archana, his bhakti bhava to Ganesha, was so much, so intense that he actually grew a trunk from his forehead. So Bhushundi, and he is the only one, na bhuto na bhavishyati, that is neither there was before nor any time thereafter, only one who developed a Shundi because of his devotion, a trunk of, just like Ganesha, because of his devotion. And so he had close proximity to Gargya Maharshi earlier. Besides, he also enjoyed the supreme bliss of Swananda Loka. Then Sanaka asks, one who enjoyed the physical features, those of Ganesha, is addressed as Shiva San. Sometimes Shiva San had the trunk of an elephant. But Bhushundi also is had the trunk of an elephant. What is the story that about the similarity between both of them? Please tell us about it. Sanaka says, ask Shiva. Shiva replies, once I was at Kailash mountain, I wished to enjoy a game with Parvati. So I became a male elephant and she became a female elephant. This was in a previous kalpa, means much earlier than later stage when Parvati created Ganesha out of her bodies, and then that story that we know. In that earlier kalpa, Shiva became a male elephant and Parvati became a female elephant. And during that play, a son was born to them and he was known as Raktagaja. We brought that son to a house in Kailash, Shiva is telling. I appointed my son as the chief of Ganas. Ganesha has taken birth in my house several times. Since the boy had the form of Ganesha, Brahma, Vishnu, Indra and others thought that Ganesha was my son. Appointing him as a lord of obstacles, they started worshipping him as such. With my boon, he came to be the first worshipped before anything else. On the strength of yoga, he came to be worshipped as Ganadipa, and they sang his praise with the Ekakshara mantra. Siddhi and other gods were also pleased with this Shambhu's son, called him Shiva's son, great devotee. They connected him with my form. When he was connected with my name, he assumed my form. See, initially, when Ganesha was when as an elephant, when they were born, he was with the Gajamukha as an elephant. But then he was the one who was a creator of obstacles. So he was worshipped as Lord of obstacles, and when he created obstacles, because he was Shiva's son, when he created obstacles, when he assumed Shiva's form, that is as a human being, form as a human being, as he manifested as a part of me, I initiated him into yoga. Along with the mantra of my name, he began to be worshipped. No doubt, I too worship that form as Tattvam. So Shiva also worshipped that Gajamukha form as Tattvam. Hearing mantras of my name, all obstacles began to be destroyed. So, because of Shiva means auspiciousness. So, when that Gajamukha, he was a Vignapa, that is, he was a creator of Vignas, a lot of obstacles. But when he assumed Shiva's form, he became auspicious. So, that is how he became as a destroyer of obstacles also. So that is when many times as children, the boys, they wear the father's shirt also, and then they behave as though they are the father. So like that, when Gajamukha, when he started assuming Shiva's position, or he went and sat on Shiva's seat, he got the powers of Shiva. So then he became a destroyer of obstacles. So then Shiva appointed him as the one who is to be first worshipped for removing the obstacles. So that is how he got that importance as a first worshipped. And that title or that position or that importance as being the first worshipped stuck to him permanently. So that is why even now we worship him as a first before anything else. For attaining Shanti Yoga, my child has always had the vision of my abode in your heart. Always have the vision of my abode in your heart. This is known as Svarga Swananda. So, Shiva himself advises that when you want to attain Shanti Yoga, imagine Kailash in your heart and then the Svarga Swananda in that heart. So then you will be able to attain the bliss, the Purna Shanti Yoga fast. As other ganas are always present in my Kshetras. So when you leave the body, you shall attain proximity with me, no doubt. The experience of bliss of Swananda in the palace at Svarga Swananda. So even when you worship Shiva, you will be going to Kailash, but when you worship Ganesha, you will go to Kailash along as Ganesha along with Shiva, then you will go to Kailash and you will attain the abode of Svarga Swananda which is there in Kailash. So you will experience daily the changes in your heart and it will happen instantly. And so Shiva says, I also meditate on Siddhi Buddhi's husband, Brahma, and he who is living in Svarga Swananda. Brahma said, the hearts of Sanaka and others and Munis were shining with luminosity. So now Brahma is narrating this to Vishnu. So he is narrating what he saw or what he heard, what Sanaka heard from Shiva about Ganesha. So now Brahma is telling that the hearts of Sanaka and others and Munis who were, when they were listening to Shiva, they were shining with luminosity of knowledge gathered from that 500,000 scriptures. So then he continues, in ancient times, Narada went to Siddhashram for learning the yogic path for attaining Sampragnat Samadhi. Shankara and other yogis who were born from Pancham with bodies of the five elements once again became fully established in their inferior self after dissolution of Prakriti. Once pralaya happens, they again go back to their unmanifest form. Then Shuka, Datta, and others manifested from them and came to be known by the same name. They enumerated steps for absorption of the mind and attaining peace. This is the well-known period which is known as the period of Vinayaka Kalpa. This is the period when Vinayaka was important and this was the earlier half of the Vinayaka period. Listening to this story of the Vinayaka Kalpa itself will relieve man of all sins. So, remember, Ganesh knowledge has the power to do this, which man can attain, by which man can attain everything, that is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, that is righteousness, wealth, prosperity, all fulfillment of all desires, and liberation. Whatever he desires, he can attain it by recitation or by recitation of the japa with the grace of Brahmanaspati Ganesha. We shall continue in the next session. Jai Gajanan.